Today's episode of Conversations with Purrrr is proudly brought to you by Tiger Purrrr Chai, chef-crafted, made from pure, natural ingredients, designed to activate your power within. My very special guest today is one of the most interesting, stylish, funny, talented, engaging, and mesmerizing people you will ever meet. Broadcaster, presenter, designer, curator, cook, artist, author, collector. What doesn't Claudia Chan Shaw do? Claudia's incredibly diverse career spans art, design, fashion, photography, travel, curating, speaking, hosting, television, and I'm sure there is much, 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 much more. Claudia is a true creative, and a very quirky one at that. When Claudia speaks, I swoon. I can't wait to share this conversation with Purrrr with the delectable and incredibly beautiful Claudia Chan Shaw. Hello, Claudia. Welcome. Welcome.
Pauline, good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you for taking your time and coming here to let me give you some tea.
I think that's essential.
Some Tiger Purrrr chai.
Yummy. Oh my God, it smells beautiful.
Very special. Yummy.
Oh gosh, you can tell me what's in that?
Lots of goodness. It's Mark's recipe.
Is it?
Yeah.
How fantastic. I love it.
Secret recipe. So many people are addicted to it. Claudia, I want to thank you so much for all the support that you've given Red Lantern over the years.
Oh, look, it's not terribly difficult. I mean, dynamic duo, the best food in Sydney.
Thank you so much. The last time I saw you here was Mother's Day lunch with Mama and your brothers.
That's right, and I'm thinking we might repeat that experience because my oldest brother keeps saying, why can't we go back there? So, okay, we'll go back.
Yeah, it was a good day. My parents were here as well. Claudia, I want to start the conversation from the beginning. I really think it's important to share your story from the beginning. And it's this incredible sense of nostalgia as I'm surrounded by photos of my mum and dad. Tell us, what was your life like growing up?
It was interesting because I'm half Chinese and half Scottish and identify very greatly with the Chinese side because our dad was a rather irresponsible gentleman who left my mum with 5 children to raise. So our world as kids revolved around our mum.
How old were you?
I was 5 when he left,
okay,
and I'm the youngest. There were 5 of us, but our younger brother passed away, so then there were 4. And so mum's on her own, and she's got to raise all of us. So she had 3 jobs to raise us. And so while we look back, and we didn't really realise we were different to other kids, except that we didn't have holidays. Other kids would go off on holidays during school holidays, and we never went anywhere. We just looked after each other because mum was at work.
Yes.
So that's the only time we really realised that, hey, maybe this is not really the situation that most of our friends are used to.
What did mum do for work at the time?
So she had 3 jobs. She was knitting at night for the David Jones Baby Boutique because they used to have beautiful hand-knitted baby clothes in those days. Wow. Knitting for another boutique, and then also working during the day for a fabric salon where it was gorgeous fabrics for home dressmakers and designers. And after a while, they realised that she was pretty handy with a sketch. And they said, well, why don't you design the dresses? And the people will buy the fabric from us. So she created a design service. And then she went from there.
Where did mum get her talent from?
Well, it's interesting because things filter through the family. My grandmother, my Chinese grandma, who was born in Castlereagh Street, went to the very early East Sydney Tech.
Okay.
So, in the 1920s, she's there sewing and designing and doing millinery and corsetry, as you do. So it filters down. And Grandma had a children's wear boutique. And my mum used to go into the children's wear boutique in Surrey Hills and sit under the stairs and make little flowers and things. So it went through the family.
Yeah. So growing up, did your mum share with you the difficulties that's a lot for 3 jobs supporting 5 children. Yeah. Was she very open with the reality of the situation with you guys at the time?
Yes, she was.
Did she protect you from it?
No, she was. So we were very aware of the situation because it was not an easy early childhood. And she used to bring her work home, so she would, on the dining room table, she'd be hand beading. And my eldest brother would get up, it'd be 3 a.m, and say, Mum, go to bed. go to bed. So we were very aware of her struggles. Also, because the toys that we had when we were little were mainly knitted toys, so that everything was created by hand. I mean,
wow.
So I had
So you'd like have like soft knitted soft toys, basically.
all soft toys.
Yeah.
So I had nonconformist bear, who was a blue space-dyed mohair. I say, what's the name of your bear, Claudia? Nonconformist.
Yes.
And then she did these great dolls called Long Tall Sally, and they were about this long. Their legs were that long. So they had
Love that.
fantastic hairdos, a bit like Princess Leia hairdos.
Yeah.
She had a poodle that had pink knickers on underneath the little black dress. So, these beautiful things that she created. So we treasured those. My brothers had little bear hand puppets.
Yeah.
So she was the woman who knitted on the train from Ashfield every morning.
That's so amazing. I grew up in an environment where we had to be very self-sufficient. My parents worked from before sunrise, came back at night time. So we all learned how to look after ourselves, incredibly self-sufficient. My brother Lewis would sew, and he'd create like lounge sets, and they would stuff the cushions and then sewing and all of that. So we got really creative because we were bored. It was to relieve our boredom.
Yeah.
Thinking back, I mean, as a collective or as an individual, what were some of the things that you learned, or what were some of the things that built your character that you can look back and see, that's where I got it from now?
When Mum was working, she'd always ring us and say, "Okay, kids, put the rice on," because get dinner started, and then she'd come home and do the rest of the meal. We were always washed up. We made our own beds. We cleaned when she worked on Saturdays. We cleaned the kitchen. We cleaned the floors. Did the bathroom. So it was just what you did. There was no question. That's why when our friends at school would say, "Well, no, my mum makes the beds. My mum does all the washing." I said, "Really? What's wrong with you?"
It's not that hard.
No, it's not that hard. And we weren't bored. We spent a lot of time watching TV.
Yeah.
Because being latchkey children, so you come home and you're watching, or in the school holidays, you're watching the Phantom Agents and Samurai and things like that, and Thunderbirds.
Yes.
And you come home, we're watching I Dream of Jeannie and all those shows that we grew up with. And so television becomes the babysitter. But this part of us that, when my brothers and I are sitting with our mum here in Red Latin having our Mother's Day, we're still doing the one-liners out of TV shows that we grew up with. Or Marx Brothers. We grew up with Marx Brothers too. So we were always occupied by, looking after the house, looking after each other, because my siblings were older than me. So they watched over me.
Yeah.
They'd take me to the movies in town. They were both tray boys at Hoyt's, selling the sweets. And so they...
How handy.
Oh, very, very handy. They'd say, come in during intermission. So I'd be sitting there watching the Towering Inferno for the 43rd time. So, you had that lovely... They looked after me.
That's so good. And so, Claudia, with your sense of style and fashion, was it something that as a little girl, you're like, Mum, teach me? Or did Mum say, Claudia, I'm going to teach you something now? Or how did that happen? Organically? Was it a thirst for you?
I think it was organic. I do remember when I was 5, I had a black velvet dress with poodles on it. And it was... She's 5 years old and she's wearing black. Yes. And I remember we ruined the dress because one of my brothers, you remember potatoes used to be just old or new?
The potatoes?
They were just dirty or clean. And I've got the dress and I'm catching old dirty potatoes in the dress because my brother's going bing, bing, and lobbing potatoes at me. I catch that. So ruined the dress. I never wore black velvet again after that. But as I got older, Mum started her own label in 1972, and it was in the Hilton Hotel. And I used to go into the shop after school, fall asleep in the fitting room, talk to clients.
So can I rewind a little bit? How does a single mother get a label at the Hilton in 1972?
Yes. Let's rewind the clock.
Most people have a problem doing that now. How did that all occur in that time?
Very determined woman.
Yes.
So she worked for different fashion houses, and she was making them a lot of money because we always say that my mother and my brother, who's next to me in age, are sharks. They can sell.
Yeah.
I sell too, but my approach is a little bit different. And
was that something your mother taught you?
Yeah, well, yes,
Okay,
and also
now it's
watching,
making sense.
watching, you just, you become a salesperson, even if you don't really mean to. So she decided that she's making a lot of money for other people, and she thought, I can do this.
Yeah.
I design, even though she didn't go to design school. She trained as a musician. She was a pianist.
Wow.
But, you can't really make money being a concert pianist if you're not top echelon. So she always relied on her hands from the very beginning. So she can do all of this herself. So she decides she's going to open a business. The Hilton Hotel has opened, and it was one of the early international hotels in Sydney. We had the Wentworth and the Boulevard, I think, and the Hilton. That was about it. And so she thought, I can do this. I'm going to go and get a loan to start a business, and I'm going to design my own garments with my label. So she goes to the Wales Bank, which is Wales House still, down in Pitt Street, and she goes to see the bank manager, Mr. Woodhouse. And she goes into his office and says, Mr. Woodhouse, I'm Vivian. I'm coming for a loan today to start a business. And he said, well, tell me about it. And so she starts talking about her vision, what she wants to do. She wants to do handmade garments.
Yeah.
This is a 1970 Vivian Shaw garment.
So good.
And she says, well, tell me about your situation. Well, I'm alone raising my children. And he said, well, you have 4 liabilities. And she's getting a bit...
The children are liabilities.
Yeah, the children are the liabilities.
Okay.
And he said, so I'm really sorry. You need a male guarantor. And she's bristling.
Wow.
I don't have a male guarantor for you.
Yeah.
I've bought you all of my references,
Yes.
which are excellent. Can't you see that I'm a determined, hardworking person? I'll make this happen. And he said, look, I'm really sorry, Mrs. Shaw. I can't give you the loan. Okay. So she stands up and she says, well, if that's your answer, we have nothing else to discuss. And she storms out, and Westpac Wales House is really, really long. It's a very, very long walk. So she's walking down, and she says she remembers it was a really sunny day, and she's blinking back the tears. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry.
Oh,
and Mr. Woodhouse comes running after her. Mrs. Shaw, come back in. She said, no. If that's your answer, we have nothing to discuss. He said, come in. So he brought her in, calmed her down, gave her a cup of tea, not as nice as his Purrrr tea, but gave her a cup of tea. And, okay, tell me what you want to do. And at the end of that day, she had her loan.
Yay! I love that story. That story is going to make me cry.
Oh, and it's really cute because fast forwarding to a 40-year retrospective I did for Vivian. And one of the journalists in one of the papers had said, how'd she get started? And she told the story about Mr. Woodhouse. We'd got this big retrospective, 111 garments on show from the 70s through to the 2000s. And this woman comes in, she says, are you Claudia? And I said, yes. And she said, oh, I'm so-and-so, so-and-so. Hello. I read the story about your mother in the paper today. I said, oh, yes. Mr. Woodhouse was my father. And he'd since passed away. The family read the article, and they're all passing away going, we're so proud, because this man gave this woman a start in business. Wow. Yeah.
What do you think it was? What do you think it was that made him stop her?
Because
I'm still surprised and taken aback, but possibly my ignorance, that in 1972 you still needed to have a male guarantor.
Male guarantor.
What the hell?
Yep.
Okay, and what do you think it was? She's strutting down that aisle going, I'm done, I'm not coming. What do you think that was?
I think he could see that she was determined. She was going to make this happen. She wasn't mucking around. It wasn't, I think I'll open a frock shop.
Yeah.
This was a career. This was a business. This was a foundation to raise her children, something solid, and she was going to do it, and she did.
Yeah. That is so good. How old is your mother now?
88.
How is she?
She's good. She's still fantastic. She has arthritis in her hands now. So she was knitting every day still. And during COVID, she was creating these incredible hand-knitted leaves that she turned into these giant wall pieces. And they were all hand appliqued, like that wide and super long. Yeah. And they represented different journeys through life, all done with applique leaves. So, she's still super, super creative. Yeah. But back to your question about how do you, as a kid, you're surrounded by this, you can accept or reject. You don't have to go into the business.
Yeah.
When I used to come into the shop after school, fall asleep in the fitting room, do your homework in the fitting room, go through the lay-bys. Oh, Mrs. So-and-so hasn't picked up her lay-by. Mrs. So-and-so, I'm 11. You need to pick up your lay-by. So you're brought up in that environment, and it was never forced upon me. And in terms of personal...
Life skills, man. Life skills.
Absolutely. And Mum always used to say to me, when we had wholesale accounts, because she retailed, then she wholesaled, then we exported.
Okay.
And she'd say to me, well, you're looking after this, so never be afraid to make the unpopular decision. Get on the phone and tell them to pay that bill.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't want to get on the phone and pay the bill. I want to be the nice person. Not everybody's going to like you, Claudia. So,
No.
Sometimes you've got to be the bad guy. I don't want to be the bad guy. Good life lessons.
Yeah. Well, it's, two of the things that I teach to my students and my clients is to have the courage to be disliked.
That's it.
And also to be okay that they're not okay.
That's right.
So, exporting. Tell me about that. How old were you when the export... Tell me about that.
Okay.
Export business. What year? How old were you? How did that come about?
Okay, so we are now... Vivian decides she's going to export to... First of all, to explain the product,
Yes.
because I think that's important.
Yes.
So it's not just frocks. So we start off with garments in fabric, jerseys, silks. And being under the Hilton, all the cabaret stars and actors are staying in their Hilton when they come to Australia. So, Margot Hemingway. Hemingway?
Yes.
She was the face of Babe for Fabergé fragrance and body products. And so Margot Hemingway comes down and says, oh my God, I love this. And so Vivian does a whole wardrobe for Margot Hemingway. Bo Derek is promoting the film 10. And, so Roberta Flack is singing upstairs in the Hilton cabarets. So all these wonderful people are coming down, and clients are coming in saying, there's nothing like this anywhere. You should be exporting. Yeah, easy. Just go export.
Yeah.
Okay, right, we can do that. So Vivian switched from fabric garments into handloom knitwear. Wow. And that the knitwear is what she's remembered for today. Yeah. And when I say hand-loomed, it's like the knitting machine, knitting loom like this, where row by row you're knitting a garment into shape. Nothing's cut and sewn, it's all shaped. So she builds a wonderful knitwear label, remembering that she's knitted all of our toys.
Yeah.
And so she starts with hand knitting and then does hand looming. And that's when the clients are saying, there is nothing like this. And there was, and still is, nothing like it. And so she says, right, we're going to conquer America. Okay, how are we going to do that?
I'm loving this story. As a serial entrepreneur, I'm like, wait a minute, how does that happen?
Yeah, you just decide.
Yes,
you're going to conquer America. So I have done my first year of college at Sydney College of the Arts. I'm about to go into second year, and all through college holidays, which are quite long, as you know, working in the business, but going in Thursday nights since I was 15. And Saturday mornings, so I was just always a part of it. And so I'm going to America. Well, I'm coming with you. So, okay, so go to Sydney College of the Arts and saying, I'm just popping overseas for a while, I'll be back. Yes. No, you need to defer for a year. I don't need to defer, I'm doing real life stuff. Yeah. No, you need to defer a year. All right. So we go to America, start on the West Coast, and finish on the east. So we go San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago, up to Toronto, and then finishing in New York because, we'd have our act together by then.
Mother and daughter.
Suitcases. And so suitcases.
Looking shit hot.
Yeah, overdressed to hell. And before we left, we got in touch with Austrade. Now, Austrade this is 1982, I think.
Okay.
About 1982. And Austrade at this stage doesn't have a big track record with exporting fashion, primary products and things like that, but not necessarily fashion. So they said, look, go to Austrade in each city and speak to the trade officers and they'll be able to help you. They don't really know fashion. So some of the trade officers were really, really helpful and others didn't have a clue. Some would carry your bags to an appointment for you. Others would say, there's the phone, you can use the office.
Yeah, right.
So, mixed help. But we thought, well, what we do is, not now understanding, having done export marketing courses about research your market, understand your market share, was no.
Doesn't matter.
So you go and you do the stakeout. So you go.
The stakeout.
The stakeout. So
it's getting good.
no samples, no nothing, just walking around going, that looks like us. High end, different, ready to take a risk. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
And good prices because we're handmade product. And so do the stakeout, find the shops that look right, then return to scene of the crime with bags and portfolio. Vivian would be outside with our sample bags. I'd have the portfolio overdressed to the nines and just walk into the shop and hang around.
Yes.
Flick through the racks, hang around until I hear, oh my God, I love what you're wearing. It's darling. Out comes the portfolio. Hi, we're from Australia. We just happen to be in town. Mum, come in.
Yes.
She's looking through the window like this. So she drags the bags in. And then in those days also, owner-operated stores.
Yeah.
Without central buying offices,
Yeah.
individual boutiques. It's quite
They're
different
decision
now.
makers.
Yeah, decision makers are there.
Yeah.
Because the clients are their clients. They've got that connection. So all the clothes come out. We're trying things on. They're trying things on, writing orders. And we do this in every city, including New York. And at the end of the night, we'd be sitting on the hotel room bed going, can you believe the business we're running? We're a little naive too, because in Los Angeles, me watching TV all the time and being in love with Humphrey Bogart and films from the 1940s, I want to be staying in Hollywood. Well, we stayed in Hollywood at the, I think it was called the Hollywood Hotel. Okay. Lots of cars driving in and out all night and lots of high heels going upstairs, up and down the stairs all night. We've got suitcases against the door ringing Australia going, we're scared. And Austrade, we speak to the next day and they said, what are you doing in Hollywood? I'm moving you up to the Ambassador on Wilshire Boulevard. Get out of there.
Amazing.
So we learnt as we went along.
So good. I love your storytelling prowess, Claudia. It got me so engaged and enraptured. Your sense of nostalgia as you're telling these stories, and just this sense of just snatching this memory and reclaiming that memory and taking that memory. As a storyteller myself, I'm finding this whole experience with you incredibly delicious. So thank you. I wanted to ask you also, when I'm listening to these stories, there's this great sense of no fear. There's no fear. It's fearless. When you're going about doing this, you said a bit of naivety. I think also there's that determination to say, well, what is there to fear? What is there to lose? What is there to fear? And I love that mother and daughter are going together to do that.
Absolutely. There's a nice word, chutzpah. Chutzpah. So we had a lot of chutzpah.
Yeah.
And
tell me the word chutzpah. I don't know it.
Chutzpah is a Yiddish word. It means it's like having guts, balls, a little, taking a risk, having the guts to try it.
So good.
Yeah,
That's a new word I learned today. Chutzpah.
And it's C-H-U-T, C-H-U-T-Z-P-A-H, I think it is, chutzpah.
I love that. I love that.
I think that's the spelling. And the other thing is rejection. Not everybody will love you. Yeah. And, I'm on Rodeo Drive in Los Angeles, draped. Ma'am, would you mind? Oh, okay, I'll leave. Go. Yeah. So, not everybody loves you.
No fear.
No.
So you're not only a collector of memories, Claudia, you're a collector. A collector. I read somewhere that you said that there are two people in this world, collectors and non-collectors. Tell me more about that, because surely there are different types of collectors as well.
Oh, there are. So I figure if you've got two of something, that's just a pair. If you've got three and it starts growing, then you're a collector.
Yeah.
And there are obsessive collectors. There are collectors of memories. There are collectors of ephemera, letters and things from their family life. And there are the obsessives who have 1,000 perfume bottles, 1,700 plaques de mousselet, the little caps on the top of the champagne bottles, 14 Rolls Royces. So
which one are you?
I was obsessive, but now space dictates that I pull my head in.
Okay.
My first collection was everything to do with Humphrey Bogart.
Right.
Watching movies, hanging around watching movies, watching too
What,
much TV.
what age were you when you were first besotted with Humphrey?
11.
Okay.
11.
The most impressionable age.
Yes. So 11 years old, my eldest brother has a Humphrey Bogart book, and he'd taken me to a few Humphrey Bogart festivals. And I love this man. I thought he was
tell
just
me why.
brilliant. Anti-hero,
Yeah. not
classically handsome. Some people would say he was ugly. I don't think he was ugly at all. I think he was in the 30s and 40s. I think he was quite dishy. Just a sense of, he was just a powerful character. He was himself. He was always himself. And I responded to that very much. He wasn't a pretty boy. And I love crime. Absolutely love crime, detective movies, gangsters, love that whole genre. Yeah. So he was my man, and I was collecting everything from books, lobby cards. This is before videos or before we could take them home ourselves. And when I was old enough, about 15, I'd go to the Bogart festivals because they'd have usually a double feature. And I'd sit in the front row of a tape recorder, recording all the dialogue. And then
I love that because you have
because I don't have a video, so because before videos, got my tape recorder, and then I'd come home and replay all the dialogue, and I'd lock myself in the bathroom, and my brother would be banging on the door, going, "Get out of the bathroom!" One bathroom, all these kids, and I'd say, "Hang on, I'm up to the airport scene from Casablanca. Give me 10 minutes." And so I would be absorbing all of this.
Yeah.
So
how many times do you reckon you've listened to that recording?
Oh, God, I can't even tell you. And how many times now that I'm grown up and have my own copy of it as a DVD? Countless.
So good. So you were an obsessive collector.
Yes.
Yes, and Space has... so you're not a this declutter minimalist person.
No.
Neither have I. What's that about? I love having my shit everywhere.
Absolutely, and it's all got to be out.
The maximalist. It's got to be out because that's what I love.
It does. I love going into someone's home that is, one piece of mid-century furniture, one stunning artwork. But what about the other stuff? I've got lots of stuff.
Yep.
Every
books,
wall
magazines.
in our house. Oh, the house with no books? I don't understand that.
Yeah, no, I don't understand that either. So good. And what do you think the mindset, the thinking is behind the different types of collectors?
Okay. I now collect tin toys and robots, mostly because they remind me of TV. So this is the nostalgic collector.
Yeah.
So it's the Batmobile in tin.
Reclaiming memories.
That's it. Wind up. The bubble-headed booby who is from Lost in Space. Warning,
yes.
danger.
Yes.
Robbie the robot from watching Forbidden Planet. So all this robot thing grows from Lost in Space. So now there's glass cabinets lit full of robots. Japanese 1950s, some good stuff. Yeah. So that's the nostalgic collector who collects based on memories. I had one of those when I was a kid. I don't have it anymore. I always wanted one of those when I was a kid. I'm going to get one of those now because I can afford it and I'm not a kid anymore. So that's the nostalgic one. Then you've got collectors who their interest grows out of work stuff. Maybe they're in IT and they had Nintendo games when they were kids or whatever, and their fascination is with Palm Pilots and games and computer stuff. Record collectors, that's usually because you grew up with those sounds, those songs, or you're obsessed with one particular artist, and it's not enough for you to listen to their songs, but you want to own the piece of clothing that they discarded at a concert in 1972 in Chicago or something.
Yeah.
So
it invokes and evokes a memory and
it does.
A feeling.
It does.
Yeah.
And others, I was speaking with a woman recently who'd only recently come to collecting. She's in her 70s, and she started collecting, in about 2000, just because, I like that, and I like that too. And then now today we can research and we can work out, we can buy on eBay, we can shop in our pajamas from our lounge rooms. Yeah. So it's made collecting an even bigger hobby, I think. Because there are the diehards who will only do the antique stores or only do the car boot sales or whatever. But with the internet now, we've got communities. and that can make your collecting even crazier. When I started with eBay, first I didn't trust it. I thought, no, I need to touch and feel. Does it work? If I'm going to an antique store or some sort of sale, I take batteries with me if they're battery-operated toys, make sure they work.
Yeah.
Because, on eBay, you're taking their word for it.
Prepare.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I used to trust eBay, but you get to know the good sellers.
Yeah. I love that when your passion then also becomes your work, your side project. And then there was the television show all about collectibles.
Yeah.
Can you speak, what was your experience? How long were you doing that for? And your new project now?
Okay. So always being a collector, sometimes, the press picks it up and there's an article with you, or with one article, me and my shoe collection, because I have quite a lot of shoes.
How many pairs?
Oh, I don't know. I've never actually counted them, but there were hundreds.
Okay.
And I get that from my mother because there was an article on her and her shoe collection. She's sitting on a staircase at her place with all these shoes behind her. And then I found a photograph of her as a child surrounded by all of her shoes. So she likes shoes too. So I was featured in a couple of articles about the tin toy collection. And, they're ducks that lay eggs, or chickens that lay eggs, rather, and little boys on bicycles and things like that, in addition to the robots. Generally, they do something. You wind them up and they're very amusing. Or an acrobatic girl who does movements, and every time it's different. So the ABC contacted me and said, would I like to be a guest on the program Collectors with my toy collection? I thought, oh, that'd be nice. So I'm a guest on the program and showing everybody my goodies. And then about a couple of months later, I got a call from the ABC saying, look, our female presenter is leaving the show, Nicole Warren, and she wants to spend more time with her family. So would you come down for an audition? And I thought, oh, okay, I'll go down for an audition. So I went for an audition. They said, bring something you can talk about so that, you can be effusive about an object. And I thought, well, I won't bring a toy because I've done my toy thing. They saw that. So I brought the Maltese Falcon, which is a replica, this tall, plaster, of the Maltese Falcon from Humphrey Bogart's 1941 film with the same name, which I bought in San Francisco the first year I went exporting. And because that's where the film is set. And so I took my Maltese Falcon along, and they're asking me about it, saying, well, blah, 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 and tell them the story of the Maltese Falcon. And 2 days later, I get the call saying I got the job.
Of course you did, Claudia. Of course you did.
So I was on the panel with Gordon and Adrian, and Andy Muirhead was the host. And so I was one of the panelists. And so that was working on Collectors on the ABC, which was wonderful. I did that for about 2 years before the show was shut down. And a gap. Oh, and then I was invited to write a book on collecting called Collectomania, From Objects of Desire to Magnificent Obsession. And it was about my story, but other people's stories. It could be about cameos or Bakelite radios, or vintage fashion.
Yes.
So got to write a book, which was a lovely thrill because it was just random. Would you like to write a book on collecting? Sure, I can do that.
You're off lecturing tomorrow.
Yeah.
Are you still doing radio as well?
Yes, I still do radio.
And curating. I love the installation, the rat lantern installation.
Oh, yes.
That was beautiful.
And one of those
So
rats lives in my
beautiful.
lounge room.
Wow.
He's 3 meters high, gold. He has a key in his back.
Yeah.
And a Chinese symbol for good luck on the front that rotates.
Yeah.
And that was for an installation for the City of Sydney for the
Where
Year
are
of
the
the
other
Rat.
rats?
I think they're scattered around a storage space.
They're very special.
They are.
I really love them.
Pretty fabulous.
Yeah.
And that was a robot reference too.
Yes.
Had to be a mechanical rat because the Year of the Rat, it was an expression of interest from the City of Sydney to create the hero installation for the Year of the Rat.
Yep.
And looking at rats, they're busy, they're industrious, always moving around. They're like little wind-up toys.
Yeah.
So that's why he was a robot rat.
Yeah. So good. Congratulations with that. I was it was one of those things that moved me when I saw it. It was so beautiful. Really so beautiful. And I saw a photo of you looking up at these giant rats. So lovely. So curator, broadcaster, television presenter, lecturer, teacher, author, fashionista. Which one do you love the most, Claudia?
Oh, that's like who's saying who's your favourite child? I love it all. I love it all. And I love that life has just become this wonderful mix. And it's interesting because everything you learn from before filters back into what you do today. How to deal with people, selling.
Yeah.
We're all selling something, selling stories.
Yeah.
So it all goes back to where you started.
I find it so incredibly inspiring that you've built such a vibrant ecosystem.
Thank you.
Playing on all your strengths and all your creations. Does Stuart also collect? Stuart, your husband, also collect?
He sure does.
What does he collect?
Okay, so I met. He's a placomusophile, which is he collects the tops of the champagne bottles, the caps, and they're called the plaque de mousselet. So it's a plaque. The mousselet on a champagne bottle is the muzzle mousselet. So it's the metal cage,
yeah.
and so these are the caps. And the criteria is he must have drunk every single bottle.
Yep.
There are hundreds in his collection. He collects fossils. He's I call him Nature Boy. He many years ago he was the working with the Australian Museum on their marketing and PR, and so he knows about fossils and things that came before and natural history. So he has a big fossil collection, a huge book collection, and of course our wine cellar. He collects wine.
I'm very fond of Stuart. I remember, I think this would have been over 10 years ago. The first time I met him, it was just one of those things that I was invited to. I'm like, yeah, why not? It was the Court of Master Sommelier. They'd come to Australia for the first time. And I think they only invited 100 people to attend this Court of Master Sommeliers. And it was a 3-day course. And by the end of it, if you passed, you then went to do the next stage somewhere in London. And I was in the same group as he. And he's like, what are you doing here? And I said, I don't know. Just invited. He goes, what are you doing here? He goes, checking it out. So we kind of hung out for a little while, and I am certainly not trained anywhere near the other sommeliers that were there. You know, they were paid by the big restaurants and the big conglomerates, and here I am just from Little Red Lantern just checking it out. And and by the end we kind of do a little exam, little tasting, little test, see how you go. And I'm certain that I'm going to fail because I'm just nowhere, but I'm having fun anyway. So did everything, tasted, and for some reason, they called my name out first and I passed. Yay. And I did this happy dance, And it was a really beautiful 3 days hanging out with Stuart. I'm very, very fond of him, and he's been such an amazing support for Red Lantern as well.
Oh, he's a terrific man.
Yeah.
And that was the right merging of people.
Yes. If you were to describe Stuart in 3 words or 3 things that you love about him, what would you say?
Okay. The most caring person.
Yeah.
Cares for me, his friends, our dog who passed away, his mum. He was so caring and looking after his mum who we recently lost. Caring, nurturing. He cooks every single meal.
Yeah.
So I mean that's many more words. Great cook.
Caring.
Caring.
Yeah.
It's all about his caring. He's very, very generous soul.
Yeah. And if he were to describe you in 3 words or tell me 3 things that he loves about Claudia, what would they be?
Oh, okay. It's 4 words. Wears Bugs Bunny slippers.
What does that mean?
That means I think it sums up my lightness. I think I'm not a lightweight, but I get joy out of some really simple things.
It's joyous to be around you.
Thank you.
Can I talk a bit about fashion? I know you're very passionate about sustainability and fashion. What do you think some of the challenges that the current state of fashion is facing today? What do people need to do? What does slow fashion mean to you?
Yes, well, we always considered that we were sustainable before the word became catchy, trendy, whatever you want to say it is, because every garment we did with Vivian Shaw in the hand looming was 100% handmade, using Australian products, and so silly, Australian wool that had to go to Italy to be processed, that we would re-import back into Australia to have dyed in Marrickville. So this crazy ridiculous process to
Yeah.
get it back in. But the thing that was sustainable was the garments truly did not date. They did not go out of style.
I love that.
They were not planned obsolescence.
Yeah.
They were created by hand with care to last, hand washable, no dry cleaning, and a size that would change with you. So they were never, people say knitwear, you think, oh, tight and clingy, can't wear that. No, soft knitwear. The nature of knitwear is that it should be drapey and soft. So it's a garment that if you start out a size 8 and end up a size 22, that you can still come to that garment.
Yeah.
So that, I think, is sustainability. So that was always our mantra through the whole Vivian Shaw knitwear career. Today, we are saturated with fast fashion.
Yeah.
And it does have a place for people who maybe can't afford to have a piece that's going to last a very, very long time. But I think vintage fashion now, and even plain used clothing, because everybody uses a buzzword vintage, it needs to be 25 years or more to be vintage. So yesterday's Zara, if it's 3 years old, is not vintage.
Yes.
But even going to your local Vinnies and finding something fabulous that's going to work for you is a good way of being less disposable. I mean, I think most of us have some fast fashion in our wardrobes because it's quick and easy, and it might be that great basic pair of pants that's still going after 10 seasons.
Yep.
And that's not discounting that, but every day, everything, fast, throw it away, that's not good for anybody. It's not good for the next generation. It's not good for landfill because we can't break it down. And if somebody has the vision as a designer to recycle, repurpose, reuse, then that's a good thing.
Yeah. Even the reclaiming of memory through your clothing.
Oh,
is important.
absolutely.
So good, evoking the emotion and the memories. What's next for Claudia Chan Shaw?
I never know. I love opening my emails.
Yes.
Because I open and go, would you like to? Sure.
Yep.
Have you thought of, okay? So I don't know what's next.
I love that sense of agility, flexibility, openness about you two. Anything is possible, hey?
I think so.
I have one last question for you. What really makes Claudia Chan Shaw purr?
Oh, let me see.
And you can't say Stuart.
Okay, all right. Visual stimulation. I'm a very visual person. I spend a lot of time hanging around art galleries and creating art or having artist friends. I can be very, very inspired by something that I see more than I read. I read a lot. I do a lot of research as well. But if something is visually exciting to me for whatever reason, then inspiration is there.
Yeah, so good. And if you've got a lot coming up, if we were to tell the listeners how then can they go and have more of Claudia, what would that be? Your public speaking, the book, what would that be?
Come to my lectures. I lecture a lot at the Art Gallery of New South Wales, Australian Decorative and Fine Arts Society.
All open to the public?
ADFAS, you need to be a guest of a member. So it's worth just looking at the ADFAS, ADFAS website to see what talks are coming up and get involved that way. Contact them and say, I'd like to come as a guest. Because they're all over the place. I'm going to Queensland, to the next round. I go all over the place, regional Australia. So that's ADFAS for the lectures. And if I was a good girl, I would update my website, which is claudiachanshaw.com, with all my lectures, but I'm a bit slack.
Thank you so much for today. If you need someone to update your website, I also know people.
Thanks for that.
May I give you a gift for your time today?
Oh, thank you. Oh, yummy. Beautiful. I love it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
I
Pauline.
appreciate it. My gratitude is deep.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.